So many changes going on here at the John F. Kennedy Hyannis Museum. To talk about the changes and new exhibit, Jack and Bobby Brothers First, I welcome the museum's executive director, John Allen. John, welcome, and thank you so much for welcoming us here into the museum.
Well, it's so great to have you here and sharing the excitement of some of the activities going on here, and obviously an exciting new exhibit that's opened just last Friday.
Absolutely.
That you had a chance to see.
Yes, and we just took a tour launching right into the summer season. Things look fantastic here at the museum, and a really high quality exhibit. Talk to me a little bit about, first of all, what went into planning an exhibit like this, and tell our viewers a little bit about what they can see in this exhibit.
Well, Jack and Bobby is really a tour through narrative and images of, and some video of the chronology of the president's and his brother growing up together as brothers, but also as they started to establish what would be a bond around the work that they each would be doing, starting with Jack Kennedy running for Congress, and then running for Senate, and then obviously getting involved in the presidential campaign, and then being in his cabinet. So you have that. And I think the other part that's important for people who live here on the Cape or visit or have active second homes, they can see the richness of the history and connection of Cape Cod with the Kennedy family and the legacy that went on. And some of the photos that you saw in there showed some of the historical moments that took place here on the Cape. You know, we can go through some of those a little bit later, but the fact is it's a great way to bring what is an obvious analogy of Cape Cod is Kennedy, and Kennedy is Cape Cod, and we're right in the epicenter.
Absolutely, and we really are right in the epicenter, right here in downtown Hyannis, Port, just a stone's throw away, and so much history, so much family time, too. And I think that's a lot of what, and not just the Jack and Bobby exhibit shows, but a lot of the images and pictures that you have here at the museum, it shows the Kennedy family's connection to Cape Cod and to Hyannis Port.
It is, you know, and you know, I hear from visitors who come in, and they come in from all over the world. We are a destination to Cape Cod. We're a destination really internationally to people who really connect with the compound. They want to see the compound, but they also want to connect with an important time in their life. And I'd say this, the opportunity here is not just the imagery to people who have the memory and the narrative. It's also to the younger people who were not alive and maybe not have much or any connection to that legacy and that emotion. And we'll talk about emotion in a minute. But they don't have the same sense of what it's about, and we bring that out in this exhibit that's here. We have context of narrative and underlining of photos as well as videos, and you can see that the Cape is very much a part of their life, both as the president's case and as Bobby as Attorney General. So that's the richness. It's historical, but it's also an important way for people to see Cape Cod was important. And for the school children on the Cape, we put together active programs, Sarah, that will take some of these images and build them into curricula and cultural events and learning events. We did one last year with Joe Kennedy III, and we launched a youth speaker series all about public service. And we had high school kids and some young college, and what struck me are two things. One, they really connected with him. He had that charisma, he had that engagement, he had that presence, and that humility that we all associate with a Kennedy image. But more importantly, when he engaged with the students in the audience, this one young lady said, "Well, how do I become an intern in your office?" You know, and he said, "Well, you know, I'll give you a card at the end and drop a note, and you know, we're always looking for good interns, and we have a process." So lo and behold, last 3 months ago, she started as an intern at his office. So obviously, you know, for those that heard about it, it was exciting news.
Well, getting young folks interested and excited about public service is always a wonderful thing. You mentioned emotion, and that's something that I wanted to touch on. It's something that I noticed in going through the Jack and Bobby exhibit is you can see the look exchanged that is very unique to siblings. And I am a person, I'm very close to my brother and sister, and I know that the connection that I have with them is something I don't have with other people. Right. And I feel like that connection that Jack and Bobby shared is something that's very well translated in the images that you have in this exhibit.
Yeah, thank you. No, it really is. It is obvious, and the emotional side comes through, people who were alive when the president was assassinated, know where they were, what they were wearing, who they were with, and go through this rich discussion. And in many ways, this museum is an ambassador role for Cape Cod, for Hyannis, to help the story people have about their connection, and give it more color, or give it more, depth, and keep fresh what are important connections in their growing up period and still today.
So in addition to the new exhibit, are there going to be a number of programs and speaker series taking place at the museum this summer?
Very good. We do. We have a very rich program of cultural and educational. We have on June 30th in Falmouth, we're going to be having an exhibit and talk by Bob Luddington, who did our exhibit last year on the main house, Cape Cod, the heart and home of the Kennedy family. And he shared private photos of what the house looked like in 1963 when the president was there, in the 60s when he became president, that Rose decorated. We'll have on July 22nd, Rory Kennedy screening her documentary, Last Days in Vietnam. That'll be here at the Barnstable High School from 5:30 until about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. And what was great about that is she is a very accomplished director and producer of famous documentaries. She happens to be the youngest daughter of Bobby Kennedy. She happened to have been born 6 months after her father's assassination, which is emotional. But this documentary will be, I think, well received because it was up for an Oscar back in February, and it's really powerful.
Absolutely.
So that's that. And then on August 5th in Nantucket, at Dreamland, we have Sergei Khrushchev speaking on his dad, Premier Nikita Khrushchev, whom people associate with John Kennedy and the Cold War. And he is someone who lives in Rhode Island with his wife. They are American citizens. He's active at the Brown University. We had him here last year. We had 350 people.
Very successful
It was
event.
very successful. We'll do it there on the 5th. And then we'll have on the 12th, Bobby Kennedy Jr. speaking not only about his dad and the president, which will tie into the exhibit, but he will be talking about really some of the history and the stories that took place on the compound that really relate to world history and local history. It's very powerful. He's a great speaker. And that will be here with a reception, and we'll have the production up at the Cape Codder.
Great. And there again is that family connection.
Exactly. And it's great educational content, too, for people who want to certainly get some inside story. And obviously Bobby can talk about situations and episodes that he lived through.
So, John, you have big plans for this museum. Things have already started to change since you've taken the helm. It looks fantastic around here, but it's going to keep getting better. Tell me a little bit about what you have in store, if you can reveal what you're thinking of ways to improve.
It's a great story. I think the first version of where we're going will be evident to any visitor when they see the new exhibit. It is an exhibit that was professionally designed for us by Roger Westerman. He's a well-recognized historic museum, local museum designer. He's done work for John F. Kennedy in Boston. He did the Game of Thrones exhibit that is now touring the world.
Wow.
So he's got some unique exhibits that are out there. But more importantly, he really is putting together a design for the entire redo of the exhibit area. And if you come into the museum through that exhibit up in front today that people will see, it's a museum exhibit you would see in Boston or New York. It's got that quality of presentation and engagement, and we're going to finish that over the next 2 years after this. And next year when people come to the museum and to our very famous building, which is the former town hall of Barnstable, and we're proud of being in this address. We have a great plaza out in front too, which gives us presence. But you'll walk into the museum, there's a wall that you can look in right today with a glass wall. That'll be down. More formal professional admissions process, an expanded gift shop, and really get the museum feel in the moment you walk into our museum. And the last part is that as we finish up 2017 will be the President's 100th birthday anniversary, so that will be a very major international event. The 50th anniversary of the President's passing was here, and on that day, it happened to be the exact same day, we had over 1,300 people in this museum. They started showing up at the front door at 5:30 in the morning when the radio station was setting up and just stood in this museum. And I expect that again. And it will not be just local people. We're doing demographic assessment right now of visitors. And it clearly shows that this museum is an important destination for people around the country and around the world. In 2017 will even be more magnified. So we're proud of that. We'll have this presence of our museum complete. We'll have the story really in the best of display and the ability to convey it. And I think most importantly, the pride of this community around what this represents historically and our own lore will be at its proudest moment. I can't wait for it.
Very, very, so very exciting. So if folks want to come by and visit the museum, if they want to learn more, I know you've redone the website. That also looks great.
Thank you.
What is the web address and what is the address here on Main Street?
Okay, the web address is www.jfkhyannismuseum.org. And you can catch our exhibit details. You'll see some of our programs. You'll see some of the youth programs. And make sure that as you're looking at our website, there are some very dynamic youth programs throughout the whole summer that we're putting in this year. We have Camp Kennedy in July and August, 2 sessions each month. We have a program around teaching some of the history of the Cape through this museum in July and August. And then you'll see also deep details of how you can come to our programs. The connection to time, we're open 7 days a week through the end of October. Our hours are 9 to 5 Monday through Saturday, 12 to 5 on Sunday. And if someone has a group that wants to come in here who lives on the Cape and they have an event going on, they want to have a little extra hours that they can't get here, give us a call. We work with people all the time. We're proud to be able to do that, and we certainly want to make sure that the experience of Cape Cod, if they're a visitor, is as rich as it can get.
Wonderful. Well, John, thank you so much for inviting us in. Thank you for the tour, and I hope that many people come through. It just looks fantastic here at the museum.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
John Ellen, of course, is the Executive Director of the John F. Kennedy Hyannis Museum. I'm Sarah Coleman.